Hello, everybody. We are back. It's time for Truth or Skepticism. It's Wednesday, just a couple minutes after 1 p.m. Central Time. Dylan Radigan, how are you?
I'm good. I'm a little bit alarmed because between the artificial intelligence thing and some of the secrets that I learned in my recent trip to California about how data is being utilized, I'm increasingly wondering whether, in fact, human beings are in charge of their own decision making.
That is a very interesting and almost passive-aggressive opening statement.
I'm just saying many people, I think, believe that they are in charge of the decisions that they make.
I believe that.
I'm sure many do.
I don't like the way you say many do. I believe that, and I think everybody pretty much believes that. I think everybody but you.
No. I know things that you don't know.
Okay. What do you know?
Okay. So I know that you spend a certain amount of time on your phone.
Okay, that's fair.
And again, I want you to keep artificial intelligence just off to the side here, close but not directly related, just because.
Yeah. Okay.
I want you to imagine artificial intelligence is able to harness some of the things that human intelligence is currently using to make sure that you are not in control of your own life.
Okay. I mean, I'll give you the room to run here, counselor.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you, Your Honor. Imagine, well, you don't even have to imagine. Let's presume that you spend a certain amount of time, as almost all humans do, looking at your telephone. Whether it's on TikTok, could be Instagram, could be Twitter, on some social media channel that you consume.
Okay. I only, just for the record, I only use TikTok.
Fair enough, whatever. So you have your favorite station on the dial, but all the same,
okay,
you like TikTok. But again, it doesn't really matter. Although TikTok is technically the best at what I'm describing, so
yeah,
it's not surprising that you use TikTok. So you spend a certain amount of time, and as you use it, we'll just use TikTok as the example. There's a speed at which you scroll through the content. So you either go faster or slower in your what I will refer to as your thumb speed. You with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So sometimes you go through them, go fast,
yeah.
a little slower, fast. Oh, stopping, watching.
Yeah.
1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. 5 seconds, 6 seconds.
All right, where are you going?
Okay, so now I'm now observing the thumb stoppage that you exhibit.
Okay.
Well, the robots, the computers really are observing the thumb stoppage that you exhibit.
Okay.
It is immediately integrating the thumb stoppage duration information as an indication of things that you like. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair, unless I'm going to go take a pee or have a drink.
Yeah, I mean, there could be some bad data in there, but
yeah.
So it does two things with that. One, it'll give you more content like the content that's stopping your thumb.
Yep, that's true.
And two, it will look at other unrelated content that other people who stop their thumbs on content like the content you stopped your thumb on also like.
Yeah, I agree. Everything you said is accurate.
Watch, Breaking Bad on Netflix.
Yeah. You're completely accurate.
Movie, right?
Yeah, you're accurate.
So now I'm not only programming you with more of the things that your thumb stops on, but I'm giving you other things that are popular with other people who also stop their thumb where you stop your thumb.
Right. Of course. That's what I want. Right. I want people like myself who have found things that they know that I will like because we have very similar tastes. That's exactly what I want. Brilliant.
Right. And so the most important piece of data in the new media ecosystem is thumb stopping. right? So if you publish a thumb stopper, that's a viral video, right? By definition, that's a thumb stopper.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Okay.
But underneath that, there's layers of data having to do with the nature of the thumb stoppage, time of day of the thumb stoppage, et cetera. And what ends up happening is now I know where you stopped your thumb. Okay. And I know the other content that thumb stoppers like yourself might enjoy. So now I go to commercial vendors with products and I say, people like Tom, who live in the Chicago area, who have this list of thumb stopping characteristics. He likes cat videos. He likes dancing videos. He likes to see things get blown up when they blow up cars, whatever he likes.
Sure.
And then and then they sell that. And then that becomes a mechanism for commercial activity to sell targeted advertising.
Okay.
When the thing with the thumb stoppery is the phone, unlike a discussion, the same way that text messages and WhatsApp messages and whatnot are different than written documents or emails or discussions, is for some reason the personal relationship with a phone is almost, it's like a window into the subconscious. It's not the same as, you wouldn't watch the same things on TikTok with a friend that you watch on TikTok by yourself.
Yeah, I still don't know. I don't understand where you're going with this.
You're not in control.
I'm not in control of what? I don't even know what ads. I don't even know what ads you're referring to. TikTok doesn't even have
about
ads.
the ads. It's my point is that you think you're choosing to watch TikTok, but TikTok is choosing to take your time and attention because their psychological insight into you is so deep that they actually have figured out, they're like, how do we get Tom to spend 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes a day? Now, Tom, and then allow Tom to believe that it's his decision.
But it is my decision.
No, but it's not.
But it is. I actually like it. I mean, I don't do it because I don't do it because I'm addicted or because they have or because they force fed me crack or something. I like it. I do it because I like it. And what I watch, the stuff that they force down my throat, as you're saying, I like that stuff. I like the fact that I don't have to choose what I want. I like the fact that they already know what I like. And I like the fact that people like me know what I like so that they send me the same kind of stuff so that TikTok's already figured that their algorithm so damn good. And not only that.
And they make a distinction between 1 second and 1.5 seconds.
Yes,
it's
but
fractions
not
of
only
a second.
that, what's really amazing about what they do is they have lots of inventory so that if I log on, let's say at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and I check it out for 10 minutes, if I log back on at 7:30 at night for 10 minutes, I'm going to see a completely different feed of other stuff that I like. So like under the Tom heading, there's like 6 or 7 or 10 different loops that I can watch of all this great stuff that's perfectly tailored to me because they know my algorithm. It's genius. And I like that because I do not feel that they're taking advantage of me. I feel like I'm taking advantage of them because they're very efficient. They're sending me stuff that I like instantaneously.
Do you feel, because I have a mixed, on the one hand, I agree with you, honestly, but on the other hand, I'm like, we're into some weird territory because there was once a time where people would conceive of creative content and try to tell a story to recruit an audience. Now programmers are able to understand where the audience already is and then to give that audience more content like the content that they're already watching or that is complementary to the content that they're already watching. So it's like an inversion of the programming mandate used to be, and I agree, and I think this is a good thing, by the way, but the programming used to be that whatever, Steven Spielberg has an idea for a film or whatever, and that's a bad example for a bunch of reasons, but some executive has an idea, whereas now the idea is a harvesting of where people's attention already is, and then the creation of more content that is like that.
Okay.
At what point does it now imagine I have artificial intelligence looking at all of your thumb stopping.
Okay.
And let's say that world then becomes a world that's Tom's world.
Yeah.
Right? That's sort of everything that you like about TikTok, but even more, right?
Yeah.
It's like, because every time it knows whenever Tom literally or figuratively stops his thumb, he's then left with more assets like that.
Okay.
Do you see no, and then that information is used to sell access to your time and attention for commercial purposes.
So you're worried that they're using my information to sell people that are like me on
I'm not stuff. Worried about that. That's a certainty. That's not a point of concern.
Well, I don't even know what they're trying to sell me because they don't advertise. So I don't know who's selling me what. Like, what do I buy? Like, I don't get the whole thing. Like, I don't get what everybody's concern is. I really don't understand it.
And again, I'm not even saying that it's a concern. I would say that my concern is, that once that the primal brain in the back of the head.
Yeah.
Once that takes over, once you can control that, which this TikTokery is a master of, you actually have control of people. That people believe that they're in control.
Do you know what? This is the most overrated, blown out of proportion, preposterous, crazy talk that I've ever heard in my entire life. And it's you, and you're just jumping on this. This is almost more of like a political movement. This is like crappy PR. Like, I'm not even sure what the agenda is, because anybody that's ever used this stuff, I don't see it at all. Like, I don't even see it. It's just.
Well, but do you see it as an asset, as an advance? In other words, do you
see it 100 times worse to turn on your television and watch an hour of TV where you have whatever it is, 12 minutes of horrible advertising. I think that's so much more in a conflict, a breach, so many more ethical questions about that than anything that we watch socially online.
Do you use some of these tools, or would you use some of these tools in the brokerage business?
If we could, I mean, only because.
In other words, can you observe the thumb stopping of what type of trade people like to do? And
no, we can't do that. But what's interesting about social media to me in the brokerage business is just for marketing purposes, because that's where people that are active, on active internet users or active technology users, they'll hang out. It's just the sheer number of eyeballs and things like that, as opposed to what we have to pay for traditional marketing. So it's more of an economic discussion or an economic bias. But I just don't get the whole, I mean,
and you would say the same thing about AI.
Of course,
in other words, the idea
of course, I would.
Now, but combining AI's access to all the thumb stopping information, which may give AI rapid penetration to take over the world and render the apocalypse.
Yes, just like robots were supposed to take our jobs, and just like everything, every advancement. Like, I am one of these people that believe so strongly in the power of pushing things forward. You and I have talked on this show about positive drift, but I am such a believer that we should never hold back technology-wise. And when we do, and we limit things and we restrict things and we try to be too careful about things and we get all crazy about things because people are so scared of change, that it's one of the reasons that we're kind of we're stuck. That's one of the reasons, like in 100 years, we've only made so many advances. It's just because we're stuck. We don't take those kind of chances. How can I sit here and tell you or a million other people that watch Tasty, hey, you know what? You've got to be a faster decision maker. You've got to be able to process things mechanically. You have to be able to almost think like a machine. And you've got to be able to do things really fast. You've got to take as much risk as you can. And then when it all comes down to that, being, complemented with a certain piece of technology or being aided by a certain piece of technology, we all of a sudden go, no, you can't use this. It's going to destroy the world.
I just got back to Italy. It's illegal here.
Which is ridiculous. But Italy has, with all due respect to Italy, there's idiots running Italy. The idiots are running the asylum in Italy. You've got an insane, prime minister, president, whatever it is. She's a whack job. And I'm sorry, but and you've got lots of, when the idiots take over the asylum, we can't have 80-year-old presidents and 78-year-old presidents that don't even have computers. And trying to make decisions and set policy along with a senior citizen home, in Congress and the Senate. That's the problem. Somebody that doesn't know how to use the internet, we're teaching them how to push the on button, and they're trying to tell us what we should do with TikTok. I'm sorry, it doesn't. It doesn't.
But again, that is the reality. In other words,
I understand it's a reality, but you're telling. Don't compare anything in the world to Italy. Who cares? What I'm saying. It's like, okay, it's the least progressive country ever. We have to start thinking, and we have to start, respecting and figuring out how to regulate technological advances so that they benefit us, but never to restrict anything. Because what you don't want to ever do is to restrict innovation and to restrict technology. It's all good. It doesn't matter if there's a few bad, like the idea that, okay, there's somebody getting all my information or somebody telling me what to do, forcing this stuff on me. No, there's not. It's 100 times worse on advertising. Look what we've been doing for years with, tobacco and alcohol and all the crap that's all over the place and all the junky fast food and everything else that we've been shoving down people's throats and everything else. It's like, look, give me a break, okay? Nobody, I watch a video on TikTok about, who knows what it is. Every day it's something, maybe it's a dog barking at something, who knows? Please, how's that going to change? How's that impacting me? Sorry, I don't buy any of this.
Is it useful as an investor?
When you say is it useful as an investor, it is useful to embrace technology as an investor. It is useful to embrace innovation as an investor, because without that, you wouldn't embrace things like cryptocurrencies and digital assets. You wouldn't embrace the new technology that that's out there now, all the high frequency technology that we're using, all the integration of video, into trading platforms and all that kind of stuff. So as an investor, it wouldn't, why would anybody want to go to a legacy firm that is working with a salesman that's been given the same pitch since 1978, okay, which is which is complete idiocy as far as I can see it. Here, yesterday I did an interview with one of the major publications in America, business publications. I won't even say which one, because it'll be out in another couple weeks or something. And the question that he asked me was, "Hey Tom, there's been some noise in the financial world about investment advisors, RIAs, registered investment advisors, finally starting to embrace, options, but yet their firms are nervous about them embracing, options. What is your take on this?" And my answer is my God, what do you think my take is? What took them so long? They're 50 years behind already. The idea that, oh my God, you're actually embracing diversification of product. You're embracing lowering basis. You're embracing new technology. You're embracing more strategies. You're embracing adding alpha to your ridiculous you're finally figuring out that your results are just tied to the S&Ps and everything you do is random. You're asking me do I support that or am I in favor of it? Of course. I mean, we're beyond ridiculous.
All right, so I'm going to say this a different way.
There is no other way, just so you know.
I'm going to try it a different way. If every secret in the world was made, if there was no privacy, and if every secret in the world was known, I believe it would completely change because I believe the biggest source of power is compartmentalized information and secrets, and whether it's in the political or corporate atmosphere. And as more information is known, that the nature of decision making changes dramatically because people have a totally different information set. An example would be the public disclosure of all the salaries at whatever, Microsoft or Amazon or whatever. What is your point of view on aggressive transparency?
Well, there are certain things, I don't think that, there are certain things that I think are personal. I don't think your Dylan Ratigan's medical records, salary, like your bank accounts, your spending habits should be made public unless that's something that you want to disclose. But
why?
What do you mean why? There are certain things I think that are personal. I don't want to know every little bit about every single person. I don't want to know if person A is a schizophrenic.
But wouldn't that give you better information? Wouldn't that give you better
Of course it would, but I don't know how that would benefit
give you better health care because you'd have more record, you'd have more data sharing.
Well, I think from a healthcare perspective, that stuff's already available to healthcare professionals. But I think that on a broad scale, I don't think that that's necessary. But if you're asking about that on a corporate level, like full transparency into publicly traded companies, I'd be open to that. I'd be open to that without giving away trade secrets. Because I think you're entitled to, proprietary innovation and proprietary, ideas that you create, things like that. I don't think you have to disclose that.
So, but where do you draw the line? In other words, it's fine for TikTok to observe wherever we point your attention. No problem. Thank you. Giving me better programming.
Well, you don't have to log on to TikTok.
No, but I'm just saying, whatever it is,
If I went on TikTok right now and searched Dylan Ratigan, I doubt there'd be very much on there at this moment that would, I don't.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah,
so I don't think TikTok's infringing on anything or displaying anything you don't want.
No, I'm just saying our ability to observe, our ability to take insight into previously private information is at an all-time high and is only going to explode further.
Well, of course that is the case. But of course that's the case, Dylan. We are
to the point where I might be able to infer your medical record or infer your bank account just based on the metadata.
You may be able to. I don't think it's quite that easy, but we also have very lax legacy corporate technology that doesn't do a good job necessarily of protecting, personal information and things like that, because a lot of these companies are running on, like I said, legacy technology that just doesn't protect certain assets that it needs to. But that's not, their incompetence is not an excuse for, or is not a reason to not to embrace, there's so much more positives. Listen, there's always going to be every change that's ever made, there's casualties. I hate the term purist. Like what's always bothered me for a billion years, or as long as I can remember, is the term purist, because it goes back to kind of baseball. And for years, all these crazy people would go, you know what? Baseball is the purest sport, and I am a baseball purist. So I don't want there to be a pitch clock. I don't want there to be, an automated umpire. I don't want there to be review. It's the beauty of baseball. It's a game for purists.
No laser beam on the strike zone.
Right, but that's 100% horseshit. The greatest advancement to sports is that we've made it so that we don't sit there anymore and go, oh my God, that's the worst call ever, because now they just reverse it because they have everything on instant replay. And now in baseball, they just cut the games down from 3 hours and 20 minutes to 2 hours and 40 minutes, which is a huge difference. It makes me want to go to more baseball games. And like everybody feels the same way. Great. It's a reasonable time now. We don't have to sit there for 3 hours watching somebody, adjust their crotch or adjust their gloves. So we have to embrace the advantages, the technological advantages that are now at our fingertips. We have to embrace innovation. There is going to be a few casualties along the way. Big fucking deal. Like, that's what I mean. I mean that. It's like, who cares? You know what? For the few people that want to bitch and moan about all that stuff, and for the few people that want to cry about being a purist or this or that or all the other stuff, get a life. It doesn't matter.
The difference with AI and the sort of the surveillance economy is that it comes with theoretical and potentially actual risk that doesn't exist with a dispute over technology and sports.
Hold on, what does that mean?
I can do it. There are observations in the surveillance economy with technology that can be a risk to human beings, whereas there's no technology in sports that is.
That's true, but it's not. I think that is in the actual number of use cases, that is a minuscule fraction of a percent. And, there's always going to be bad actors, and there are always going to be people that try to, game the system or arb the system. And there's always going to be situations that I think you cannot control. Or, you can draw some, you can get to a point which makes it seem like there can be some unethical or criminal, whatever. But the reality of it, that still exists in every aspect of our life anyway. And so I'm not going to say for a second that would slow me down or make me think twice. Because that exists in our current world, in our traditional world.
And you continue, regardless of anybody's comments about the potential risks of AI, to see it as anything other than an asset.
Of course. How I would not be true to everything else I believe in. I understand everybody's, I don't understand, but I think it's more of, I think the people that are anti-AI or that want to put restrictions around AI are more concerned that it's anti-competitive because they've fallen behind than they are, then they're worried with the actual technology. I think that it's a defensive mechanism for competition. Listen, like we talked about, you mentioned Italy for a second. Well, the reason that Italy banned it is, one, they don't understand. I don't think they fully understand it. And two, they're technologically way behind other places around the world. So they fall. So you know what? It's a country disadvantage. It sucks that when you're Italy and you've already fallen behind Estonia, or it sucks when you're Italy and you've fallen behind, most other European nations as far as technological advances go. So yeah, that's the issue. And you have a corrupt, you have a corrupt market structure and a corrupt system. So, So do we protect the corrupt system, or do we embrace the technology? And let's not talk about, like places like, and I'm just using Italy as an example, but when places like Italy say, hey, we banned AI because we're not competitive. We banned it because it actually gives our competitors an advantage, and it makes us look like idiots. And that's the reason. It's not because of the technology.
I actually think I understand what you're saying. I think it's a different reason. I think it's because they don't understand it at all, and they just think that it's a way for students to cheat. And they have a moral position on education,
you understand how ridiculous
completely
that is.
Nuts. I understand that.
You understand how crazy ridiculous that is. I mean, that problem exists everywhere, and you know what? That problem will be solved, and you'll be able to figure out. We were laughing about it today. Actually, we were talking about it earlier, and we we're like, well, I mean, I think any 6th grade teacher or 7th grade teacher in America can figure out whether or not a kid wrote it or it's ChatGPT. There's no spelling.
You could just go back to handwritten, write it. Right, you got to get a pen and paper and write it.
You could do that too.
That's problem solved. If it's not handwritten, it doesn't count.
There's just so many things. Well, listen, we just address it. You know what? It's a technological. It's an important technological feat. It's an advancement. It's going to help to change the world, to make the world a better place. It's going to speed up our ability to connect, to integrate different pieces of technology. It's going to speed up the whole coding process. It's going to speed up every single thing that we do. And anytime you speed up decision making and brain processing speed and all of the above, it is good for the world. And enough of this garbage about, is
it good for the world, or is it good for the 1,000 people that own most of the resources that will benefit from AI?
Well, it certainly levels the playing field faster than anything else. I mean, it certainly levels the playing field way faster than waiting for you to figure it out on your own. So, if you're worried about the top of the funnel, you should be less worried with artificial intelligence than you should be without it.
I think it's a problem. I just do. I got to be honest.
You don't. You're just playing devil's advocate. You're too smart for this. I just hate the argument because it's such a lame, old school argument. I've been listening to this argument from the early days on the trading floor when they go, you know what? We can never. Open outcry is so much more efficient a system because we can negotiate, because we actually know who's placing the orders, because
I can see the look in your eye.
Yeah, everything, and it's like, come on, man. None of this makes any sense. Okay, and you're never going to stop it, too.
All right, enough. I've had enough. I got it. I would like to use the balance of my time for a different discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
Why is it always that the NASDAQ 100 is like that half of the NASDAQ is always constituted by like 5 or 6 companies? Well, for all of the talk of evening the playing field, and then this is not, right now, I was just reading a thing today. It was just, going on and on about Apple, Microsoft, Tesla. I forget the rest of the names, but they're the obvious, Facebook, I'm sure, and whatever. And that these 5 names or these 6 names represent 50% of the total value of the NASDAQ. Do you think that's just the natural structure of the world? In other words, that most of the resources, that's sort of the 80-20 rule in markets?
Exactly. How is it different than any other of the 80-20 rule?
Right, where it's like these are the 5 basketball teams that are going to be competing for the championship, or these are the never ends. These are you can do it in every possible.
Yeah, of course.
Thing. So let's assume that the natural condition is some consolidation of a few number of actors with most of the resources. And then you come back to the politics of trying to level playing fields. Is perhaps the idea of leveling a playing field, is that the unnatural idea? Is the natural existence of mankind in some form of 80-20 at all times?
I think it's going to be, I think that ever getting off of the 80-20 is never going to happen, because it's just, that is the perfect distribution model. You're always going to have that outlier, 16 to 20%. That is going to be
and 20% of the people are going to have 80% of the resources in any given situation. And that's
every business operates the same way. 20% of your customers generate 80% of your revenue. Business. Sure, there's everything is the whole world breaks down that way. 20% of the countries dominate 80% of the global wealth. So I don't look at the NASDAQ as any, as that being
as evidence of anything other than the ongoing natural dynamics of the world.
It's a good story, but it's not. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Well, I read it and I was like, this isn't it always like that? Like the companies that are in the company names change.
Yeah.
Right. Like whether Netflix is in and then Netflix is out, or whatever. Sure. Whoever's on the bubble and all the rest of this, or there's a new player suddenly emerges and comes into it. Which would mean, as an investor, that 80% of your returns come from 20% of your trades.
Sure, of course.
which is thus the trade small mantra.
I mean, at Tasty, I think we're more evenly distributed than most other people because we're so diversified on strategy and underlying. But I think in the world of, like you can take the private equity world, you can take the
VC,
the VC
portfolio
world,
manager.
Yeah, exactly. The money management world. I mean, the only place that it's more evenly distributed would be, in the active trading, high frequency world, where it's really just a pot of,
where it's more even distribution of income across tiny transactions that are more predictable, basically.
Yeah. I mean, but even if you went down to you got granular enough to go to look at a casino, you would see that they used to make what did Caesar's Palace used to make 80% of its revenue of its profits from 6% of the gambling all in the high limits baccarat room. I mean, they made more money than the whole rest of the casino. So, I mean, crazy things like that. I don't think it's.
But does that make movements for equality or equity more challenging because the natural structure is these clusters of resources?
Well,
I think that it does. I'll just say it. I mean, I reckon it's probably going to sound politically. I'm not trying to go down.
No, it's not political.
But I'm thinking. I was like, for all this, because I've done political television. I ran for Congress, all these things, and it's like, and the longer I'm on this planet, the more I am of the belief that there is a natural organizing structure of excess resource with a small group of people. No matter if it's communism, well, then the communists there's going to be a few people in the communists that are going to have most of the stuff.
Can I give you the positive side to this? Can I give you there's a bullish side. There's a really positive side to this. Right. On the one hand, people like to say, well, 20% have everything, and
20% have 80%. It could be more, but whatever, right?
But whatever it is. But people like to look at the 80-20 rule, and they like to talk about it as negative as it is, because it's just the concentration of wealth, of everything,
power, blah blah blah.
Right. There's another side to it which I think is really important, and the other side to it is, imagine you stepping into a situation that you knew nothing about, nothing at all. Okay, you're stepping onto a blank canvas. Dylan Radigan and four other people. So there's 5 people total, and you're stepping onto an absolute blank canvas. And I said to you, you know what, Dylan? You've got a 1 in 5 chance. Okay? If I said to you, you have a 1 in 5 chance of being an outlier. You have a 1 in 5 chance.
You have a 1 in 5 chance of getting 80%.
You have a 1 in 5 chance of being an outlier and getting, well, not the whole 80%, but a big portion of it. Yeah. You have a 1 in 5 chance of completely failing and being on the low end where you get absolutely nothing, and everybody else falls in the middle somewhere. So there's 5 people. One person has a chance of controlling everything. Another person has a chance of getting nothing, and the other 3 people fit in the middle somewhere. Some above the midpoint, some below the midpoint. Now, I know you. And I know myself and most of the other people that I hang out with. Every single one of us would take that shot 100 times over 100 times, because I'm not throwing you into a pool with 1,000 other people, 100,000 other people, or 1 million people, and saying, "Hey, you know what? You've got to stand out among 1 million people or 100,000 people." I'm just saying, there's 5 people.
Sure,
those odds are great. And
agreed.
So if you paint the picture that way, and say, hey, one person's going to kill it, one person's going to get killed, and the other 3 are going to end up in the middle, you take those chances every single time. Every single person would.
No question about it.
And that's your story.
Well, no, there's a different piece to it, but we've run the clock. But I would just say very briefly, some government or whether it's some communities, whether it's a government or a corporation or whatever, are better at ensuring that the 1 out of 5 who gets nothing still has something. In other words, when I look at
I agree with you.
I know that you do. I know your father was I know your story.
I agree with you.
Right, of course. But that's where the debate ultimately. I think that where the debate really lives is not so much on the fairness of those odds, which I think and many people would appreciate. And honestly, again, if there's a sick baby and there's 5 people in the room, and one of them is a pediatrician, and the other 4 is you, me, and 2 other fools. Are we going to do an equal vote on what to do with the baby, or are we going to go to the person who's a pediatrician and say, what do you think we should do for this baby? Right. So the expertise, it varies as well.
Yeah, listen, of course, I'm just giving a very simplistic, broad example of why the 80-20, when people look at it, they say, oh my God, this is, look how unfair this is.
This is the AOC like inequality cry, which is actually misinterpreted.
Yeah, I think it's more misinterpreted. I don't think of her that way, but whatever.
How do you set the floor?
Well, that's tough. I mean, that you have different people will look at that differently and set it differently, but I'm not going to get at that kind of discussion.
I know. I have
but
no.
I mean, on a broad level, I just wanted to point out
Yeah.
that that we have an extraordinary amount of opportunity when you think about it. There's other places where you have no chance. Like if you were for example, in India, you would have no chance. Like the odds are 1 in a million. Okay, if you were in China, it's 1 in a million. Whatever it is, in different places, if you're in Russia, it's 1 in a million. It's a different world. It's very. The nature of the system that we've built here, it works, and I think people get confused by that, and we discount it too much. But you're right, we have run out of time. It is 1:46.
What's your best AI trade? Long AI as a sentiment. My sentiment is I love AI. What do I do?
Oh,
your opinion,
at this point,
right now,
I mean, I don't have a long.
Or anything.
I mean, I don't have a long AI trade. I think that, I think the way the street looks at it is, if you want the most liquid underlyings, you're going to play Microsoft or NVIDIA. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if there is another, I mean, I would argue that you could also maybe, because of the way they've sold off some of these Chinese stocks, especially Baba today, like you could nibble on Baba or Baidu. But I think there's other factors in China right now that are.
But that's not an AI play per se. That's
not a real AI play, but it's more so like I wouldn't buy Google on AI. I'd rather buy NVIDIA or Microsoft, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think the whole thing's already priced in. This is not a cannabis situation. Okay, this is not cannabis. But
meaning it's not going to blow up and pop in a hurry.
It's not going to go to zero. Exactly.
Right.
But it's also maybe fully priced.
All right.
I'm Tom Sosnoff. He is Dylan Radigan. This is Truth or
Skepticism. I feel like I did 80% of the work on today's podcast, by the way.
See, I don't think so. I think I was an active participant. But we do this every Wednesday. We try to find a topic to debate.
But I think you get 80% of the credit for how good this podcast is. But I feel like I do 80% of the work.
Okay, I'll take that. That sounds like a compliment. Dylan, we'll see you next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Time. And everybody have a great week. And same to you, Dylan. Talk soon.
All right, talk to you soon.